If you're feeling behind in life and there's this low-level constant anxiety that you just can't shake, I can relate. I'm 38 with a family, multiple careers from music to marketing, and I have a graveyard of business ideas. I know what it feels like to be behind in life. It's a feeling that you could have done more, that you could have gone all in, and you could have if you would have only had the courage and maybe a different circumstance. Scrolling through social media is not helping. 15-year-old pop stars, 20-year-old millionaires, perfect lives with perfect abs, ready to wash away all of your achievements and making you feel like you are simply not enough. But what can you do about it? It's easy to unfollow the influencers that don't serve your mental health, turn off the noise, and stick your head in the sand. But there is a much deeper problem here. I discovered two powerful concepts that shaped my understanding of this feeling and have given me tactics to identify the real problem and work to overcome it. They are helping me gain clarity on my purpose and giving me the courage to pursue it. And the first one is drifting. Think of yourself as being lost at sea. Someone has given you a map, but it only leads you to deserted islands. To reach the good land, you have to use your own knowledge of the stars and let your instincts guide you home. You must stop drifting. I learned about drifting from a book by Napoleon Hill called Outwitting the Devil. Napoleon Hill wrote Outwitting the Devil in 1938. And it wasn't even published until 70 years later in 2011 because his family and his friends thought it was too controversial. In the book, he calls himself Mr. Earthbound, and Mr. Earthbound has an interview with the devil. And the devil is basically a metaphor for any negative energy or the dark side, we'll call it. And the idea is that Mr. Earthbound is trying to figure out how the devil manipulates us and pulls us away from success and freedom and really anything we're trying to do. He learns that the devil's main focus for bringing people over to the dark side is twofold. Number one is sowing fear and uncertainty, which leads to indecisiveness. And number two is encouraging complacency and acceptance of mediocrity, which causes them to drift. So Mr. Earthbound asked, what does drifting look like? And the devil answers with this. A drifter is one who permits himself to be influenced and controlled by circumstances outside his own mind. He would rather let me occupy his mind and do his thinking than go to the trouble of thinking for himself. When a person starts to drift on any subject, he is headed straight toward the gates of what you earthbound call hell. Wow, so that's a little scary and dark, right? Now that we know that drifting is basically hell on earth, how do you avoid it? So he asked the devil again how to avoid drifting, and this is what the devil says. One's dominating desires can be crystallized into their physical equivalents through definiteness of purpose, backed by definiteness of plans with the aid of rhythm and time. So according to the devil, here's how to avoid drifting. Be clear on what you want. Be clear on what you don't want. Have a clear plan of action. Use rhythm and time to your advantage. Be consistent and don't stop until you win. You feel behind in life because you don't feel fulfilled with your current circumstance. Getting clear on a definite purpose with a definite plan and using consistent rhythm and time to your advantage will help you stop drifting. You will stop trying to chase mediocre things and go after the things that you know you want. The second concept that's helped me overcome writer's block, procrastination, and really anything in my mind that's keeping me from doing the things I know I should be doing is resistance. So I learned about resistance from Steven Pressfield's book, The War of Art. Not to be confused with The Art of War by Sun Tzu. The War of Art, I found out about this book from a Joe Rogan podcast.
It would actually benefit the ego if you didn't have resistance.
Yes.
Apparently it's one of Joe Rogan's favorite books, and I checked it out and I instantly fell in love with it. I've listened to this book on audio 7 times now, and I can see why Joe Rogan loves this book. It's fantastic. It's a kick in the pants, and Steven Pressfield even says it's the last self-improvement book that you will ever need to read, and I tend to agree. So kind of like Outwitting the Devil, he personifies the outward negative energy as something he calls resistance. And resistance, that's a proper noun with a capital R, and it's kind of like this living, breathing monster of a thing that's always out to get you. It's always out to stop you from completing what Pressfield calls continuing your soul's evolution. He talks about all the ways that you can identify resistance in your life so that you can learn to overcome it and know your enemy. My favorite quote by Pressfield is, "The more important a call to action is to our soul's evolution, the more resistance we feel about answering it. But to yield to resistance deforms our spirit. It stunts us and makes us less than we are and we're born to be. So you can follow resistance. You can use it in your favor and kind of use it as a guide to find the things that if you're feeling a lot of resistance about something, chances are like that's the thing that you should be pursuing and doing, especially if it's something that you want to try, but you're just too scared to do. Most of us have two lives, the life we live and the unlived life within us. Between the two stands resistance. So how can you use this to stop feeling behind in life? Like we said, you feel behind in life because you are unhappy and you are unfulfilled with your current circumstance. So you can either accept those circumstances as they are or change. If you want to change, resistance will naturally try to stop you. So you can use it as a guide to discover the things that you know you should be doing, the things that you want to try, but you're too scared to do. When I'm working on a project and it's, it just kind of feels like the universe is working against me. You know what I'm talking about. I actually call out resistance. I blame it. I'm like, resistance, strikes again. And it helps me kind of bring it back into my control. I realize that there's this thing, resistance is trying to get me, it's trying to stop me from completing this project or starting this thing or doing this thing. And I just need to do the work to overcome it. So you could use that for yourself and hopefully that can help you complete projects and just try things that you're scared to do. So remember, feeling behind in life often stems from a lack of fulfillment. By getting clear on your purpose, creating a plan, and working consistently to overcome it, no matter what, you can beat resistance. You can have a more fulfilling life and can feel like you are on the track that you were intended to be. You're not behind in life. This is your life. Everything that you have done so far has led you to this point, and you are in a perfect position right now to take control, to beat resistance, to stop drifting, to stop accepting mediocrity, and to look it right in the face and say, no, not today. I'm doing the work, I'm showing up, and I will win if I just don't stop. So I hope this was helpful for you. My name is Jason Locklear. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment below. Let me know how this was helpful for you in what ways. And I'd love to make more content like this to help you level up your life. Much love. I'll see you in the next one.